Hey everyone, welcome to the New Populist. I'm Dave Brown. If you are new to this channel, please like and subscribe. I'm on day 5 of the Omicron variant, so if during this video I cough or sneeze, please forgive me. Thankfully, it is a more mild version of the coronavirus. I had the OG version back in April of 2020, which was way worse. So while this is unpleasant, not my favorite thing, it is definitely an improvement over the original variant. So again, forgive me if I cough or sneeze. Today is January 6th, and unfortunately, I feel obliged to talk about it. Of course, everyone is. And I kind of want to take a different approach. I know some people are going through the details and trying to explain to people that it wasn't an insurrection. And if you're on the left, you're part of the mainstream media, this was the worst day since Pearl Harbor. And a year later, whatever you believe, you're going to believe. And whatever knowledge you have about this day is knowledge that you're going to have forever. Because if you haven't looked for more information, you're not going to. If you want the information, you went out and found it. And if neither, well, then you're not paying attention, you're an idiot, and there's no point even talking to you. Not the kindest thing to say, but unfortunately that's true. So I really want to look at this from the point of view of Trump supporters and what do we do going forward, because ultimately this is the big issue, is how do we treat this and how do we move forward in this country. And unfortunately, we have the reaffirmation that the Republican Party is not on our side. And they never really were. It just so happens that they are politicians. They recognize that Trump was popular. And the true thing to do as a politician is to go where the wind is blowing. And many of them did that. Now, of course, I'm sure that there are some beliefs and viewpoints that these Republicans had that, were also Trump positions, and they crossed over, sure. But they never really agreed with what Trump really was and the reason why we like Trump so much. After Bush, after Romney, McCain, I think Trump supporters finally figured out that this system wasn't working for them. Now, during the Bush presidency, we got scraps. You get this, if you're pro-life, he was a pro-life president. He said some of the right things with regards to immigration. But what actually did he do during his presidency to forward our agenda? He started 2 wars, did nothing on immigration, I guess something on the abortion issue, but what exactly did he really do to push his country forward into conservatism? Not a lot, which is why when his brother Jeb tried to run in 2016, we all laughed him off the stage. I think in hindsight, we recognize that Bush, not the greatest. Now, of course, there were difficult times with 9/11, and I think because of that, we sort of graded him on a curve, understanding that there was extenuating circumstances. But in totality, he was not a great president. And we realized that this Republican Party and this system wasn't on our side. So we were looking for anybody that showed a sign that perhaps they would do things a little differently. And that's where Trump came into the picture. And as soon as he made his appearance, we all just immediately went, this is the guy. He's not perfect. We all know that. But damn it, it looks like he might at least try to go against the grain. And he did. And for doing that, they spent 5 years trying to destroy him. And looking back at Trump's presidency, there's 2 camps that sort of I see most. And that's the camp of people who think that he was the greatest thing since sliced bread and that he could do no wrong. And they're not right. Trump was not perfect. He made mistakes. And if he were to run again, hopefully he would learn from those mistakes. And then there's the other camp. These are the ones that were looking for a reason to attack him. These are the self-promoting pundits who went, oh, look at Trump, he didn't do enough. Why didn't he get this done and that done? And they ignored the situation he was in, where he was quite literally being threatened with being thrown in jail if the Democrats could. They had his son being questioned by Robert Mueller's team. We had Russian collusion. He was impeached twice. And he had a Republican Congress who, as we know now, wasn't really on his side. The fact that he got done what he got done is actually quite amazing. Yet these people think he didn't do enough, and they're probably intentionally ignoring these situations because they simply don't like him, or they're making money off the niche of, Trump sucks now. And we see the people popping up, and some of them are just part of this effort to make sure he doesn't run in 2024 because they think somebody else will have a better shot. So they're just a part of this team to just try to take him out now. So it's not really genuine. It's just an effort to eliminate him. And this is where we're at now. We have a choice between picking somebody like a Ron DeSantis, a Nikki Haley, who I don't recommend at all, somebody who we think might be more electable. That's the key thing. This person is electable. He's not Trump. He's not going to say things that will galvanize the left. And there's truth to that. If we go with the DeSantis, he is more measured. He is more of a politician. The question is he part of this system? Trump, he was kind of part of the system. He had sort of had 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And that's why we got behind him. If he runs in 2024, do we support him with the chance that he loses because he does galvanize the left? Or, again, do we go with a DeSantis who seems to be good, but when he's in that seat, when he's in the White House, can we trust him? And unfortunately, that's the conundrum we're in now. And when I look at the Republicans today and the comments they're making, I'm very skeptical that even a DeSantis wouldn't be a disappointment for us on the right. We saw Ted Cruz, who recently, the last few years, seemed to be pretty good at calling out the left and saying things that were unpopular. And he grew the beard out, and wow, this new Ted Cruz, like this guy. And then yesterday, he calls the events of January 6th a terrorist attack. And we all sort of just scratch our heads going, what the hell? Ted Cruz? And you're trying to make sense of it. Now, if Ted Cruz is the more outspoken on the right, and he's saying this, what does this say about the rest of them in Congress? Where do they lay at? And there again, you see the problem that we're in. Even a Ted Cruz, push comes to shove, has 2 feet in the establishment. And there's 2 things you can do to fight back against this system. And we look at history. And for most of history, it has been through revolution. Of course, I'm not advocating that. That is a violent and messy way to change a system, although at times in the past, that has been the best way to deal with things. There was no other way. And the second way to fight back against this system is to infiltrate it and take it over from the inside. Now, on that score, the left is light years ahead of us. They've been doing this for the last 80, 90 years, molding into every establishment in this country, populating it to the point where it almost doesn't matter who you elect, the system keeps moving in a certain direction. And we saw Trump run into that buzzsaw, where, as we know now, His Mark Milley, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, was actively working against him. People right next to him he could even trust to fulfill his agenda, and they were working for the system. And so we have to ask ourselves, as Trump supporters, which route do we go? And of course, again, the revolution route is not an option. We have to overturn the system from the inside. And unfortunately, it is a long, long process that takes years, if not decades. And we have to temper our expectations for what may happen over the next 10 years. And if we do that, we have a shot. If we sort of have a freak out and we're not strategic, we're going to lose. And January 6th, I think, kind of represents that sort of frustration where we know this system is broken. We know it screwed us over. And we were thinking, what the hell do we do about it? And we were so frustrated. It's like when your house has been robbed and you call the cops and the cops show up and you're angry and, sir, my house has been robbed. And the cop's like, meh, he doesn't care. And you go, well, what the hell do I do? We felt we were robbed. And we appealed to the powers that be. And they didn't just ignore us. They laughed at us and spit in our face. And we got frustrated. Because we realized at that moment we were firmly outside this system. And what the hell do you do? Well, what happened was frustrations boiled over, and a handful of people broke into the Capitol. Some forced their way in. Some walked right in. They took their selfies. They walked around a bit. And then they left. And that was it. And a year later, we're called insurrectionists, and they're calling it an attempt to overthrow the U.S. government, which is a laughable joke. So we know the situation we're in. That's what it is. And so my appeal to people is not to try to explain to people what happened on January 6th and fight that battle. We're going to lose that battle. They control the media. They control the propaganda. We're not going to convince our leftist friends that January 6th was not an insurrection. They're going to believe what they're going to believe. So don't bother. Focus on what you can change in front of you now. Focus on the things around you. Focus on your local elections, your town councils. That is the winning strategy going forward. Doing those small things, those things that seem insignificant, things that don't necessarily have a payoff that you can see. That's where this starts at the small level with your family and your friends. And maybe over time, we take this system back. In 1905, the Marxists failed in the revolution to overthrow the Tsar. But they came back in 1917 and did just that. The Chinese, they have their 100-year marathon to pass the United States. Now, I don't point them out to praise them. They were and are Marxist and communist regimes. But to point out that they understood this is a long game. This is a war of attrition. And we have to really ingrain that mindset, because if we don't, we're going to get frustrated like we did on January 6th, and we're going to fail. And I want to prevent us from having any more January 6th, which do nothing but serve as an opportunity for them to create propaganda against this. Long-term thinking, long-term strategy, that will be the key to victory. That's it for now. Again, if you're new to this channel, please like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.